So tonight's practice, and it's first one back as well after, well, my first one back after Christmas break anyway. So I'm going to be using a rolled up blanket. I've got a bolster, but you don't have to have a bolster. Maybe grab 2 pillows. Yeah, in fact, I'll grab a pillow as well, just in case. So yeah, I'll talk you through it, but be mindful if you do have any injuries, back off. So especially if you're quite new to yoga, just take your time. I'll talk you through it all. But yeah, it's quite easy. It's quite nice. Yeah, what I'd recommend doing is putting yourself in a place where you're free of distraction. Your room's relatively warm. It's cozy. Yeah, you're quite happy. Comfy clothing, so I love like making sure I feel really comfortable in what I wear. Yeah, nice and easy. So yeah, let's start anyway. So we're going to come to lying on our back anyway. So you might find that you'll lift your head up halfway through to see what I'm doing, and then you get back into it, and then I'll leave you be for a bit, and then I'll bring you out of it, talk a bit, and then yeah, it's all in stages. But yeah, I hope you enjoy yourself. So yeah, come to laying on your back. I'm going to start some music, but you can put your own music on if you like. I don't have it on loud, just a bit of background music. But we do want it to be that meditative style practice. Yin yoga, great for if you're quite tight in places. So if you've been sat for long periods of time. Yeah, if you're holding any tension in the body, it's really nice for that. So we're going to come to laying down. You can lay down just on your back as you are, or if you want a pillow underneath your head, that's totally fine as well. So just bring yourself down. And I hope you can see me all right. So yeah, it looks like it. And have your knees bent, feet flat, and just allow your knees to roll in towards each other. And just take your hands and just place them on your belly. Close your eyes. And just before you even let your mind go anywhere, just let your body, your physical body, just stop. Let the arms become heavy. Let your legs become soft. And then notice even the torso, your breath, what happens with the movement of the breath. Are you doing a bit more belly breathing, maybe upper chest? And then the face, try and relax the face as much as you can. Relax the jaw. Now as the body becomes more and more still, more and more at ease, take a nice deep breath in and a really big sigh out through the mouth. And again, a nice deep inhale. And a nice big sigh. Just for these next few moments, just pause. Let the world go by at its normal pace, but you just pause. Slowly start to become aware of yourself on your mat, on the floor, or wherever you're choosing to practice tonight. And just take your hands out to the sides, and we'll open up the knees and just take your feet onto the outer edges of your mat. And your knees are pointing up towards the ceiling. Take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe out, just take your knees over to the right, as maybe rolling your head to the left. Try not to force, just let it relax. And then inhale back to centre. Exhale, take your knees over to the left. Head turning to right. And again, inhale centre. Exhale, knees going over. And again, inhaling and exhaling. And then slowly come all the way back to centre. We're going to bring the knees in towards the chest now. One hand on each knee, and then just gently rock from side to side. Just giving your back a nice little massage. It's quite nice as if you take your big toes together, one hand on each knee, and just start to create two individual circles going round, moving through the hips. And then going the other way. And all the way back to centre. So we're going to hold onto this right knee and just extend your left leg all the way down your mat. And we're going to keep it there. So if you've got any knee trouble, you might want to avoid holding the knee. Maybe just hold onto the back of the thigh. Let your shoulders relax. Even that straight leg, just let it flop if it wants to. Now the art of the yin yoga practice is to find your edge, so not necessarily pulling away to increase the flexibility. We're talking about like the tissues wanting to relax in their own turn, and this may take time and patience. Once you find that edge where it might feel uncomfortable but we don't want pain, then it's adding the stillness. So sometimes when we're around a lot of chitter chatter, maybe there's a high volume in your place, there's a lot of distraction. And our thoughts can go from one end to the other, and we can't even control them. And this affects the body in many ways. But when it's just us, our breath, and a few yoga poses, things change. Spend 5 more breaths here. And then when you're ready, take a nice deep inhale. Nice big sigh out. And then this time we're going to just gently bend that left knee, release your right knee, and just place the ankle on that left thigh, maybe not directly pressing. Use your right hand, thread through and wrap the hands behind that left hamstring or the front of the shin, depending on your own flexibility. Place your head back on the floor and just have an awareness of drawing this left knee in. It could be strong for that right hip, but just be mindful. Then you want to try and keep this right foot flexed, so a sense of pushing that heel away. You might feel like a kind of strong reaction in the buttocks, and try to avoid tilting the chin up. See if you can almost tuck it in, and just let your face relax, let your jaw relax. So we're working with a few things of the lower back into the hips, but then we're going to go up into the upper, so upper shoulders and neck area today. Try not to force, just breathe in. Take a nice deep breath in now. Just sigh, let it go. And then slowly open your eyes, release your hands, and just release that leg. Give it a nice big stretch out. Sometimes you can feel like you cut off circulation a little bit, but it does come back. So we'll have a go at the other side. So right leg's nice and long, left knee, just hug it in. And again, you could interlace the fingers around or wrap the hand behind the back of that hamstring. But I just want you to feel nice and comfortable. No forcing, just gently finding that edge where your body doesn't fight. Your body starts to relax. You might find that sometimes when you get into these poses, your mind starts to kick in a little bit, and that's fine. That's totally normal. If you find that it goes a little bit too much though, bring some awareness back to how this pose feels, or maybe your breath. I use the breath a lot, trying to make the breath like a wave in the ocean. More breaths here. a nice deep inhale. Just let it go. So we'll open up the eyes. Put a bend in this right knee now. And let's just take that foot across into that figure of four. You could stay like this if knees are fragile. Or maybe wrapping the hands through, holding onto the back of the hamstring, or maybe the front of that shin. And just take the head back down, tuck the chin in slightly, and then this left foot wants to be flexed now. So you might instantly notice one side is maybe tighter than the other. So this is quite normal, depending on your patterns. The trick is finding out what we can do with it. Where can we relax into those tissues? Just 5 more breaths here. And then take a nice deep inhale and just let it go. Slowly release your hands, let your leg go. Stretch your legs fully out down your mat and reach your arms up and over and just have that nice full body stretch. Oh. We'll keep with this long position next and we'll go for our Banasana, probably one of my favourite yin poses to do. It opens up all the side of the body, so really good for digestion, breathing, and any outer hip troubles, so things like that. So we'll have a go. We'll wiggle the feet over to the left, and you're trying to keep your body in that same position, or your torso should I say, and then wiggle your shoulders over to the left, so you look like a banana shape really. You can use your left hand to hook onto that right wrist. You could hold onto your elbows or your forearms. If you're not a fan of taking your arms up and over, just place them back on your tummy. Another option is to cross this right leg over the left, just to increase that side bend. I try and have both my shoulder blades on the floor and both my hip bones pointing up towards the ceiling, so I'm not tilted over to one side. And then just let that pose become still when you're ready. Close your eyes. Arrive into that softness. Let your jaw relax. come and send your breath to the right side of your body. So the rib cage, can you expand the ribs with your breath? But each time you exhale, try to allow your belly to soften first. And then when you're ready, take a nice deep inhale. Nice big sigh out. Open up your eyes and we'll just wiggle ourselves over to the other side. So legs shuffling across to the right, your shoulders shuffling across to the right, so you resemble that banana shape or a crescent moon. Using your right hand to hold onto that left wrist or holding onto your elbows. Left leg crossing over the right if that feels comfortable. And just remember those points of your hip bones pointing up to the ceiling. Your shoulders are on the floor. Let's spend 5 more breaths here and try to send your breath to the left side of the ribs, thinking about that expansion. And then we'll take a nice deep breath in. Nice big sigh out. Slowly open your eyes. Really wiggling yourself back to centre. Releasing your arms. Let's just hug the knees one more time. Back into the chest. Have another little rock side to side. And then just roll over and just turn onto a tabletop position next. So the hands are going to be underneath the shoulders and knees are underneath the hips. So spreading out your fingers nice and wide. We're just going to draw the belly down towards the ground, lifting the sit bones up and the heart shining forwards. And then gently round your back, chin towards the chest, squeeze your inner thighs towards each of them and press your fingers into the mat. Inhale and draw your belly down. And then exhale and that round. Inhale. And exhale. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Coming all the way back to all fours. Options are to do this unpropped, or if you feel like you want a prop, then go for it. So take your knees a bit wider than you normally would go, so maybe onto the outer edges of your mat. I want to target the inner thighs a little. And then toes together. Draw your bum back, and before you kind of press the chest down to the ground, think about tucking your tailbone under a little bit, yeah? So the back of the body becomes longer, yeah? And it's almost like the pubic bone pulls towards your face, if that makes sense. And then you could walk your hands down the mat, allowing the heart to melt down. You could stack your hands, let your head rest on your hands, if that's quite strong for you, especially if you've not moved like this in a while. I feel it because it's cold. So bolster, blanket, prop or anything, just place it between the knees and you could allow your chest just to kind of rest. It's a little bit friendlier. So you choose where you want to be. I'm not going to try that one today, I'm going to try the full one. And we're just going to be here for about a minute or so. Let's do 5 more breaths here. We'll take a nice deep inhale, nice big sigh out, and then slowly just open up the eyes and all the way back up. So next one, we'll try something a little bit stronger, especially for the hips. So the hips are quite strong in general. We can take it a little bit, providing there's no injuries and whatnot. So you might need something at the front. I use my bolster, maybe a rolled up blanket, and maybe something underneath the hip. So I'll explain when we get into it. So with this all fours position, we're just going to start by sliding the left knee towards the left wrist, wiggling that left foot over to the right, and then have a go at sliding that right leg back. So you might notice that your hips might be high up off the ground, and that's a key sign that if you can't sink down all the way down, you might need a prop. So sliding a pillow or something underneath the hip if you've got blocks and things like that. So something that's going to give you a bit of support and not stress out the tissues there, but also helping to protect that knee. Now just give yourself a little bit of a rock into it. I purposely try and rock onto my left bum first, and then kind of just gently articulate the hip very, very softly. Oh, my hips are tight today, so I'm feeling it. So what I try and do when I settle into this pose is make a bit of effort with my right kneecap touching the ground, not turning outwards and my heel inwards. So I try and keep my right knee pointing down, and then think about this right hip rolling round and down, so you're not leaning over too much. Your body should be quite central, hopefully. You're not kind of going off to one side. Once the hips feel okay, your knee doesn't feel dodgy or anything like that, because you'll need to adjust it if not. And then maybe come down a little bit lower. You're welcome to kind of keep in this position where it's supportive. If you've got a bolster or something at home, you know, some people like to kind of lay on it, just add that bit of support. And then once you find your edge, add the stillness, closing the eyes, letting the breath relax. 4 breaths here. And take a nice deep inhale. Nice sigh out. Slowly open up your eyes. Come all the way back. Use your hands just to help yourself ease out of it. So it's up to you whether you just want to kind of just stretch your leg back, or maybe take a downward dog and just give yourself a nice little bit of movement there. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. And then we're coming back down and we're going to try the other side. So right knee towards that right wrist. Turn your right foot over to the left a little bit and then just draw your left leg back. So again, just give yourself a nice little wiggle, a little bit of movement. Might feel tight just to begin with, but just take your time. Have that emphasis on that left kneecap pointing down towards the ground. You can feel that left hip rolling in and down. And then you choose what you want to do with your arms. And then once you find that edge, add that stillness. That's 5 breaths here. Take a nice deep inhale, a nice big sigh out, and then open up the eyes, slowly releasing, and then using your hands just to guide yourself out. You can just do some simple like leg stretches, or if you want, tuck your toes, lift those hips and just draw yourself back into a downward dog. Again, just have a little bit of movement. And then come all the way back down. Cool. So the next one is a little weird. So I mentioned about having a rolled up towel. If you don't have one, you can just roll your edge of your mat or something like that. So I've rolled up my blanket here, and I'm going to put it in my front of my mat. So you're lying on your tummy, and it's mainly targeted, just to tell you a little bit about it, at the back of the neck. So if you place your fingers where your sort of skull is, and then you can sort of, if you have a little kind of like with your fingers, just kind of walk around your neck a little bit, you can sort of feel where the skull sort of ends and all your vertebrae start there. And so all these muscles that surround the area, they're called the suboccipitals. And when you look at those muscles, they're kind of like up, cross, down. They're all different shapes. So, and these muscles can get quite tight as well. So we have one particular lung muscle as well, the sternocleidomastoid, which sort of attaches at the back of the ears and runs through to the front of the neck, right on your collarbones here. So these can get tight, and especially if we're looking at screens or looking at phones, these get compromised a lot. But also if you suffer with headaches and things like that. So this is just a nice, simple, kind of passive way of releasing those. Take some time, especially if they are tight. It might not happen straight away, but it's a good one to try. And it's very calming as well, which I quite like. So you're lying on your tummy, and you basically interlace your fingers around the back of the head. And it's as if you're pulling the flesh of the head, the skin, away that way. So you want to think about that stretching aspect, but also it's a very strange one to talk you into. Your forehead is on that prop and your nose is off the prop, so it's just gently resting. It's nice to kind of like lift the legs, pull them back, so there's a nice good front body stretch. You could just be like this is quite nice, but if you can, interlace the fingers around the back of the head and then just gently pull that flesh away. But at the same time, try and draw your shoulder blades down your back. Yeah. So it's a very strange one, especially if you're quite new to this as well. So, but once you get into it, it's quite nice, and we'll hold. I'll give you a tinkle when we're coming out of it as well. Okay? So just get yourself comfortable. 5 breaths here. And then take a nice deep inhale. Nice big sigh out. And just slowly let it go. Oh, and come all the way back. So we'll still utilise this kind of prop what we've got here. You could switch it out for a pillow if you want something a bit softer. And all we're going to do is just lay back on it. So kind of like mid ribs area what we're going with. So when you lay yourself back, just make sure that the chest and the chin almost want to come to meet. It feels like your ribs are flaring, so it's not too high up on the back. There's this like elevation of the ribs and this kind of depression of the stomach, but then your arms can kind of like drift out to the sides. Now if you're feeling it in your lower back, you might want to just put a bend in your knees, lift your bum up off the floor and pull the pubic bone towards your face, and then plant your bum back down. You're welcome to keep your knees bent if that's fine, or maybe extend your legs down the mat if that feels okay. You could let your feet just flop out. But the idea is that we're kind of creating this length at the back of the neck. The chest and the chin are coming towards each other, which is really helpful for stimulating our thyroid, helpful for regulating hormones. Try to have that awareness when you breathe, that the diaphragm, this kind of lovely muscle, dome-shaped muscle underneath the ribs, expanding, softening. When you're ready, take a nice deep breath in and just let it go. One more time, inhaling and just let it go. Open up your eyes, wiggle your toes, stretch your fingers. And we're just going to turn onto the side. Aww. And then the next pose, which will take us into our final part. You could use your blanket again or a pillow, but I'm going to use my bolster. So if you do have a bolster, or if not, a pillow underneath the hips is nice. Yeah, so you're laying back on your back and bringing the hips up towards the ceiling and drawing whatever you've got just underneath the hips. Doesn't necessarily mean how high you need to be, but just some kind of elevation is really nice. Kind of tips the energy back down, so just get yourself comfortable, making sure your hips are on whatever prop you're using, not your lower back. Just have the hands at either side, your knees are bent, your feet are flat, and just make sure shoulders feel okay, head feels okay. because there's this slight elevation, it gently affects the blood pressure, which is really good for calming the nervous system. Because we're slightly tipped upside down, only slight, this means the organs have to work a little bit harder, improving organ health. So wherever you are, on your bolster or with a couple of pillows, just see if you could bring your knees into the chest a little. So there's this emphasis on rounding your back. You could wait here and just be like this is fine. Or maybe turn it into a pose what we called Viparita Karani or Viparani Karani, depending how you like to pronounce it. The legs are going up. And then when you're ready, just start to wiggle your toes and move around the ankles, gently into the calves. Maybe a little bend at the knees is always nice. Now if your back is okay, we'll try an extension, but if you want to just bring your legs back down and just return to this supportive bridge pose, that's totally fine. If your back is okay, no disc issues, just start to extend the legs down the mat and just always make sure your hips are on that prop, not your lower back. Your feet could go a bit wider. You could extend your arms overhead, and that's another nice option as well. But just try to soften into your belly. Take a nice deep inhale. Just let it go. Pop a bend in your knees. Place your hands on whatever props you've got there and just push that prop down to your knees. Let your hips just settle back down to the ground. Get yourself comfortable. Maybe propping a pillow underneath the head, something that's just going to add a little bit more softness. If you've got a blanket, pop that on. Just let your arms come to the sides. closing the eyes. Ready now. Start to take a nice deep inhale. Nice big sigh out. Lick the lips, run the tongue around the teeth, have a swallow. Start to stretch your fingers and wiggle your toes. Encourage a full body stretch. Stretch out your legs, stretch out your arms. And then when you're ready, hugging your knees into the chest and just have that nice little rock side to side, just to warm up your back again. Slowly coming over onto the right side. Allow your eyes to open, your awareness to come back into the space. And then slowly pushing yourself back up to a seated position. We'll sit with the legs crossed. Nice tall spine and the hands coming in front of the heart. Namaste. I hope you all enjoyed that at home. Oh. There is something quite nice about practicing at home, but I do miss classes. Yeah, thank you for joining me. I hope you're feeling okay. If it's your first time, sometimes like the day after you might feel a little bit stiffer. Then a few days after you feel like better. It's all to do with like the tissues of your body, muscles and things like that. But yeah, we'll keep trying.